I hope you know that you're more than capable, of achieving all that it is, that you desire. You are more than worthy, more than capable, more than enough. You know, there's nothing more that you need to do, you know. Um, it's about becoming at this point. It's about who you need to be to grow, sustain, and nurture your blessings, because they coming. They rolling in, baby. So we preparing for that ship, okay? So we don't fumble the bag, okay? Because that's one thing also God is not going to allow you to do. Maybe you think you're ready for this and you're not. So, you just got to learn until, you know what I'm saying? Until it happens. Part of that learning um, is surrendering to the truth, and the truth is on the other side of fear, because fear is a lie. Fear is something that we've made up, that we've told ourselves, that we've conditioned ourselves to believe for so long, that it's kept us in a place of, stagnancy, hesitation. It's becoming a hindrance at this point, and it's just time out. You know what I mean? Like it's time to move forward. It's time to level up. It's time to activate, right? And that's what we doing over here. We activating. Okay. The last video I posted, I asked you to um, determine what your superpower would be. If you were a superhero, what would your name be? And sort of treat that as your higher self, right? We talked about the spidey sense, the bat signal, and what that means to you specifically. Your unique abilities, your unique gifts, and being that you're the only one that can free yourself from these fears that you made up, you created, right? And I'm talking about irrational fears. Irrational fears. I realized that, from the time we were born, and we've been sort of conditioned to believe certain things, but I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the parent wounds. I don't want to talk about what happened to you as a child, because that trauma is not your fault, right? But the healing, the becoming, is your responsibility, and that's what I'm here to help with, essentially. I feel as though I've been called to encourage you to go a little deeper. I'm just here to trigger introspection. I think that's my specialty, emotional regulation, things of that nature. So, before I talked about, you know, oppression and, the oppression that lies outside of yourself that's been placed on you, right? But what about the oppression the internal oppression, if you will? Like, how are you oppressing yourself? How are you, keeping yourself boxed in? And then I kind of said, what would be the reason for that? And I understand that safety, comfortability, like comfort, you know, but that's like I said, yeah, safety and comfort over peace of mind, you know. So I just want to, the notes that I took, um, because safety and comfort, that's what we want, right? And that's okay. But your comfort zone can turn into, well, let's say your comfort zone is survival mode, you know, and when you're in that mode, you tend to cut yourself off from certain things, that you need. You tend to keep yourself in a place, um, that validates a part of you that is outdated, right? Um, when I am thinking about safety and comfort, I'm more so speaking to the protection of the nervous system, the the spiritual being that you are, because we are spiritual beings first. We are energy, in human form, expressing, exploring. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to be right. We're not here to be liked. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were created on purpose for a purpose. So in order to navigate, in order to protect that gift, protect that purpose, you have to be able to protect um, your nervous system. You know what I'm saying? Like your central, right? Your powerhouse, your center, right? Um, so protection of the nervous system versus keeping up an image. You know what I mean? Because the only example that I can really think of is quitting a job. And somebody may need to hear that specifically because that's just the experience. I'm just, hey, like I said, this is self-reflection. This is self-reflection. This is me being honest, about my own personal experiences and, sharing that with you. So, um, quitting a job is the example that comes to mind. And, the reason that you wouldn't quit a job is because of, comfort, you know what I'm saying, and safety, right? Um, because not having money, is uncomfortable, or not having that sort of stability is uncomfortable. Like modern day, like nowadays, in this society, you know what I'm saying, in this, world, right? I'm talking about your world, though. I'm talking about your inner world, right? And I'm here to kind of let you know that that sort of comfort is killing you slowly, but it's slowly draining the life out of you. It's draining your imagination. It's draining your ability to be vulnerable, right? It's draining your ability to explore and have fun in this life. You know what I mean? A lot of the societal standards, that we place on ourselves or that have been placed on us are very restrictive. They're rigid. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these rules about how to live your life, and then we tether and tailor ourselves to those standards that were never created for us, right? It is created outside of us. And I had to come to that realization that, it's like I've been living outside of myself this whole time. Like, I've been living from the outside and, like looking at myself from the world's perspective versus the other way around. You know what I mean? Um, being in the world but not of the world. So that signal, um, the fear, the anxiety, we're changing the narrative. We're making that shift where when that bat signal goes up, when them spidey senses get to tingling, there's no question about what you need to do, or what's happening at that point, because you trust your body to let you know, you know, um, what's needed, what's necessary. You trust your body to protect itself, right? We've gotten to a point where we kind of numb that, right? Um, we try to escape it, and that doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It could be anything where you're essentially numbing out that gut feeling, and that's your intuition, that's your inner knowing, that's God. You know what I'm saying? That's the kingdom of God that dwells within you, and that's my belief system anyway. I believe that I am not separate from God. You know what I mean? If you get it, you get it. If you don't, like, just, open your mind up a little bit. Like, fuck. Um, but that signal that your body is letting you know, it's a must. It's not a, when the bat signal goes up, this is what he must do. It's not like he turns his back, because when you don't act on that, or when you don't spring into action, it's like your way of rejecting yourself. It's like, what's the word? Decreasing. Like I said, it's like draining if you have like a trust meter, like on a game, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like depleting your self-trust. Every time you hesitate, every time you say, now I'm not saying do anything just impulsively and hasty, and that's not what I'm saying, but I'm encouraging you to acknowledge and address and explore. You know what I'm saying? Those signals mean that something needs to be a problem. There's something here that needs to be acknowledged. There's something a problem that needs to be solved, something that needs attention. And if you say, I ain't got time for that, or that ain't gonna work, or let me just smoke a blunt, or you know what I mean, like, and you're suppressing that self-trust, you're suppressing your intuition, you're suppressing your gut, and that just keeps us in lack, that keeps us in a cycle, that keeps us in a loop, so in order to truly align with the life that you desire, what I'm saying, the life that you're worthy of, what I'm saying, the life that is designed for you, you have to be able to sort of feed into that discomfort, and that requires a release, it requires a surrender to the discomfort, and like I was saying about going back to the job example, quitting a job, and the discomfort that comes with that. Damn, I forgot what I was saying. But allow that to activate your your higher self, because when you put yourself in certain situations, when you put yourself in a place where you have to it's like fight or flight, you know what I mean? You show yourself a new version of you, and we've all been there, we've all overcome things, we've all, fought something, and you came out on the other end a new person, a new mentality, a new perspective of yourself, you know what I'm saying? Just a different, and that's what this whole thing is about, you know what I'm saying, is evolving, is allowing yourself to evolve, allowing your relationships to evolve, allowing your gifts, everything to evolve, right? And I mentioned in the last video that our ancestors, they really did, they were made, or conditioned to sort of thrive in survival mode, right? And they paved the way, for us to be able to have a choice, to have options, to be able to choose what it is that you want to believe in. You know what I mean? It's like I would be doing my ancestors a disservice by holding on to shit that's draining me. Anything that's draining you, I'm just say that right now. Anything that's draining you, it gotta go. And I ain't talking about your kids and like like shit like that. But certain things just can no longer, exist in your reality, period. You know what I mean? There has to be a release. There has to be a surrender that allows you to level up, right? To morph into this superhero. Like you spring into action and you save yourself. That's what it's got to be. Um, when you recognize too, because like I said, some people are satisfied and that's okay, you know. Um, but I'm here for the ones that are truly being called to align with something bigger than themselves, you know, that know that this is bigger than them, you know. When you recognize that you can have it all, you know, like I said, I said this in the last video as well, just like, you know, what if rock bottom was like everything you ever dreamed of? If you would just jump, if you would just trust, you know what I'm saying, yourself, you know, to be caught. You know what I mean? Like, um, and that takes a certain level of awareness, of self awareness and self trust, you know. We have to build that. We have to build that, you know, because I think a lot of times, you know, it's like we only trust ourselves so much, so far as we can see, you know. Um, um, so it's like I wrote, you know, stop using the outside world, other people, social media, you know, perfectionism essentially as a gauge for your own success. You know, you're one of one, babe. You're one of one. Like, nobody can do it like you. Nobody can do it like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're one of a kind. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's freeing in itself. You know what I'm saying? So stop gauging your happiness and your success based on what's being portrayed and depicted in the media and things like that. You know, it's like if I wish I, you know what I mean? Like that's again that meter. It's like you just depleting yourself. You know what I mean? Now if you draining your own self, you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean by working against yourself. Like come on now, we got enough odds stacked. You know, like we can't be working against ourselves. So that discomfort, that fear of discomfort is fear of exposure, you know, being unable to keep up with the world, being unable to keep up appearances. You know what I'm saying? It's the impact is impact over image. You know what I'm saying? We ain't worried about what it look like over here. We ain't worried about what it appears to be. You know, we talking about what's really going on, how it feels. You know what I mean? How does your life feel versus how it looks? Because there's people out here that got all the money in the world and they just as miserable and you know what I'm saying? And stressed and child, you know. So I can't base my, you know, what I got going on, my journey, I can't compare it to anybody else's. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm here to do. Like I'm not here to tell you to do what I do or tell you what to do. Essentially, it's an encouragement. You know, it's a triggering. You know what I mean? And you do it for yourself in the way that works for you. You know what I mean? You know what you need to do. You know it in your heart of hearts. You know it in your gut, but you're ignoring it. You know what I'm saying? You won't even allow it to come to the surface. You won't even allow yourself to cry about it. You know what I'm saying? You won't even allow yourself to feel. And it's like, that's the first step. You know, allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to release. Allow yourself to let go. You know what I mean? That's all a part of it. Right? So, impact over image. Um, I thought about um, my favorite villain is Loki. And in one of the Avengers, I think it was the first one. That's like the best one. He had his little moment, you know, he had his little speech in the street where he made everybody bow down to him and he gave this, you know, grand speech and everything. And that motherfucker was on to something. It's like my favorite little, you know, where he was just talking about how humans crave control. You know what I'm saying? It's like we've been oppressed for so long that that's all we know. You know what I'm saying? We need something to tell us what to think and how to feel and how to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like we can't think for ourselves. We can't, you know what I'm saying, like detach from the rules. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like when he was saying it was like it made sense. You know what I'm saying? And that is how it's so easy for the adversary, or negativity and evil to like creep in, you know what I'm saying, and have you in this low vibrational state, of feeling like worthless, useless. You know what I'm saying? Like all you good for is paying your bills, and you know what I mean, and keeping up with politics and shit that don't have nothing to do with you. Everything is outside of you. You know what I'm saying? You're more concerned with the outside world and how you're perceived versus how you perceive yourself and what's going on the inside. We're so detached from ourselves, you know what I mean, that we don't know how to allow feelings to come up, and what to do with them. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to explore. It's okay to, you know, feel. It doesn't have to be, like I said, discomfort doesn't have to be uncomfortable, or it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's a sign. It's a sign that you're leveling up. If anything, it's your body's way of transforming. You know what I mean? So why would you stop that? Why would you stifle that? You know what I mean? Um, unless it's just only so far you want to go. I get it. You know. But that ain't what's happening over here. Like I said, we stars over here. Like, I'm scared of being a loser. I'm scared of being trapped. Okay? I'm scared of being stuck in a cycle. And I'm gonna teach my children the very same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, get out here and have fun. You know? Um, um, yeah, it's uncomfortable because it's time to make a move. You're uncomfortable because it's time to move on. It's time to level up. It's time to activate. You don't resonate with them people no more. You don't resonate with that job no more. You don't resonate with that person anymore or whatever, because you're changing. And that is inevitable, okay? And when you stop that, you're stopping your the life that you're supposed to be living, bruh, period. You know what I mean? And like I said, when you get called to level up, you know, act on it. Answer the call. Because this ain't it. This can't be it. I know you know what I mean when I say this can't be life. This ain't living. You know what I'm saying? So now we gotta build from scratch. You gotta jump, bruh. You know what I'm saying? You gotta jump and trust yourself to be able to take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Rock bottom is like, it's nowhere to go but up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to find the good. You got to make it work for you, right? You got to make it work for you. You got to shift your mindset. And it's not easy. It's challenging. It's a challenge. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you done got too grown. You know what I'm saying? You done got too strict on yourself. You done got too, you know what I'm saying? Like, you done forgot who is in control here. You know what I'm saying? You done got too big for your britches. You know what I'm saying? You think and it's just not what's going on. God gonna keep nudging you and keep, you know what I'm saying? You can numb yourself out. You can do whatever you need to do. But when you've been chosen, you're gonna have to rise. You're gonna have to rise to the occasion. And that's what we're doing here. We're reclaiming our power. Okay, that's what I'm encouraging you to do. That's my only thing. That's my only is I'm encouraging you to reclaim. Okay, I said in the last video, we're returning, we're remembering. Okay, all the re's, like, whenever you feel uncomfortable, I want you to tell yourself, this is working in my favor. This is working in my favor. This is working in my favor. And again, I'm talking about irrational fears. This is working in my favor. 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 Okay? Discomfort is a sign that you're on the right path. You know what I mean? Um, like all this shit is orchestrated. You know what I mean? If you think about it like that, like your life is not your own. I told you were created for a purpose. You here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It's not paying bills and you know what I mean? Like, um, it's time to rise to the occasion. It's time to reclaim your power. You know, it's time to stand down. You know, and that requires boundaries. That requires release, surrender. It requires getting some folks up out of there. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And people that truly love you and respect you, you know what I mean? They gon' bow out gracefully in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, watch how motherfuckers respond to you. Watch how people respond to you when you choose yourself. Take note. You know what I'm saying? Like, use everything as information. Collect data out here. You know what I'm saying? When you make a decision for yourself, for you, watch how people respond to you. Watch how that job respond to you. Like, oh, all right, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, because motherfuckers will expose themselves. You know what I'm saying? And then that'll give you, you know, when you start, bro, when you start being honest and moving honestly, that's going to expose the dishonest around you. That's going to expose the fake, right? When you start being yourself and motherfuckers get looking at you like you think you know what I'm saying? Oh, I, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I, you one of them ones. Oh, got to go. Got to go. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Got him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get big, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Activate that shit. Because you already know who you are. You already knew it. You already knowing. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know how to anchor down. You don't know how to step into it. You know what I'm saying? So, first things first is answering the call, bro. Cry about it. Cry. Let it out. Let it out. Let it go. You know what I'm saying? Because you just holding on to that shit. You just holding on to it. You know what I'm saying? Just collecting dust, debris. You know what I mean? That's why I take like all that shit lingering in your life and man, yeah, like we ain't doing that no more to survive. We ain't doing it. We trying to live, bruh. All right, I'm done. I just went longer than I wanted it to, but yeah, keep the faith, man, and just yeah, let it go, bro. Go cry. For real, for real. Like, tap in with me. I'll be back. Love you.